it's Mr. Oculam here, and today on this podcast we're going to talk about the neuron, how it sends signals across synapses, and how they generate action potentials. In the nervous systems, the main cells are the neurons. There are two important main ideas of the neuron, which is the synapse, the end of the cell, and the action potential, also known as the all or nothing response. The neuron is made up of four main parts: the dendrites, the cell body, the axons, and the axon terminals. The dendrite's job is to take the chemical signals from the synapse and transfer it as an electrical signal through the cell body and the axons. The myelin sheath insulates that signal and speeds up the process to reach the axon terminals. The axon terminals then release a chemical signal known as neurotransmitters into the synapse, and the cycle begins all over again with the next neuron's dendrites.
So a neuron can be described as being a salty banana. Now this allows you to remember the location of the ions within the neuron. The salt represents the sodium, while the banana represents the potassium. Now, the banana's peel represents the membrane in which the two can diffuse through.
Is that so nasty right now? Hey, give me some of that! I want to try it!
Hi, and welcome to AP Bean Counting. In this segment, we'll be talking about the sodium channel, the potassium channel, and the sodium-potassium pump. This process begins when the action potential begins to travel down the neuron. The negative 70 voltage is changed to a negative 55 voltage. This is called the minimum threshold. It begins when the sodium travels through the sodium channel. After these sodium ions travel through, the voltage on this side becomes positive. This causes the potassium ions to flow through the potassium channel. At this point, the action potential is traveling down the neuron. Due to the uneven distribution of the sodium and potassium ions, the sodium-potassium pump over here must exchange ions. 2 or 3 sodium ions goes through this way, and 2 potassium ions comes in this way. Equilibrium is now reached, and the action potential has moved on.
Moving on to the graph of the voltage across the membrane, the neuron at resting potential, or no signal going through it, is at negative 70 millivolts. When the action potential moves through the membrane, however, the voltage becomes more positive. Once it reaches a threshold, usually around negative 55 millivolts, the whole signal moves through to fully initiate the response. After the signal has been sent and these nuts rush out, the voltage falls to a level lower than the resting potential called an overshoot. The membrane then returns to a normal level at negative 70 millivolts to initiate it again.
As the action potential reaches the end of the neuron, calcium channels open up, which allows the calcium to rush in at the end of the neuron. This allows neurotransmitters to be sent across the synapse, binding to adjacent receptors. This opens up new sodium-potassium channels, which allows the entire process to be restarted over again.
And I hope that's been helpful.